Hello guys, this is the Science Pony and let's talk about the science of bats. Let's start out on a positive note because I really don't like this episode. On the very first scene though, I did notice a couple noteworthy things that just improved the general entertainment value. The music. Like how when it's early morning there's this sort of anticipation music when it becomes light outside and the music changes to happy and upbeat. And after the first apple falls on AJ's hooves, the music changes to confusion. It's not really a great thing, but it just makes the overall episode more entertaining. But while we're on the topic of music, I need to address the song in this episode. I do love the instrumentals and the conflict presented in the song, but the big problem that I have with it is the visuals. Like many other analysts like Silverquill said that the others seem to be ganging up on Fluttershy. Didn't seem like it, they were ganging up on her. Look at her face. She is truly scared. Like, that is really screwed up. This promotes segregation and intimidation of minority groups. They literally circle her and are chanting, basically attempting to assimilate Fluttershy into their ideas. For a kids show, it does not always promote the right values. At the end of every episode, Twilight was supposed to write a letter to Celestia explaining the values of friendship, or journal on the same thing. But look at how they got to this lesson. By joining in on a hate chant against one of her friends? The unintended morals of this episode are very negative and awful, and it's only part of the reason why I don't like this episode. Another thing that I don't like about it is the one and only Twilight Sparkle. No surprise here. After the hate chant song, Twilight decides to go against Fluttershy's ethical values and successfully convinces her to use the stare. This is a really disappointing move on Twilight's part. Twilight is extremely inconsiderate and is completely wrong through this entire episode. But this episode is redeemed by animation and visuals. Now, this really isn't my specialty, but I'm fairly sure that anybody could tell quality animation, and this is pretty good. The setup of the scene where the main six are at Sweet Apple Acres looking for the apple thief. It's just amazing. Look at the sky and the apple trees. This episode is just visually fun, and once again the music is very good on setting the mood. Listening to it is just delightful. And it wasn't something that I noticed on my first time around. Now let's get to the heart of this episode. Flutterbat. I really don't like Flutterbat. I don't like how she was designed. I don't like the way she acts. I don't like anything about her. For the way bat ponies were presented in Nightmare Night, they really don't seem to have a lack of self-control like Flutterbat, and it seems slightly contradicting. Now, the thing that I like best about this episode is a character that I like the least, Applejack. AJ doesn't outright ignore Fluttershy's morals and try to convince her to use the stare. She merely just presents the problem at hand and asks for her friends to come help with the solution. I really don't see how AJ could be depicted as the bad guy, because her life essentially revolves around Sweet Apple Acres. If her crop was destroyed, what else would she possibly do? A good episode would have been if AJ and the rest of them had gotten into the disagreement about the vampire fruit bats, Fluttershy becomes a bat, and once that is done, they find a way of getting the bats off Sweet Apple Acres. But this is not what they did. They did something even better. Instead of doing that, AJ put her crop aside and did the selfless thing in sacrificing her prized apple to save the life of her friend. Applejack chose to save Fluttershy's life than to save her own. That is just amazing. And now that I'm thinking about it, AJ and Dash should actually have had their elements switched. In this episode, AJ is very loyal to her friends, and RD is bluntly honest. If you guys want to check out a further in-depth analysis on why their elements should have been switched, check out Digibrony's video on why AJ and RD's elements should have been switched. Link in this video and description. Anyway, let's mention the big plot hole. The plan to safely return Fluttershy back to normal by making her use a stare on herself. As far as we've known about the stare, it has had to be a conscious, deliberate thing. This just goes out of its way to disregard the continuity that's been set up for a while. And while Fluttershy is doing it, it doesn't even look like the stare. So, Anyway, at the end, things return to normal and all is junk. Except for the fact that Fluttershy still possesses vampire bat teeth. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's not really much to say about this episode. I mean, I really didn't like it, but it wasn't bad, and I could see why others liked it. I mean, mainly the reason why I didn't like it is because of Flutterbat. I mean, she completely disregarded continuity there. Like, in Nightmare Night, it shows the bat ponies being really deliberate and conscious. and having self-control and having mental thought while steering Luna down to Ponyville. But here, Flutterbat is just out of control, and she doesn't look similar to them, and she's just out of control. She doesn't act naturally, she doesn't recognize her friends, and I really don't like the disregard for continuity there. And also, it kind of regressed Fluttershy as a character. It gave me a lot less respect for her, kind of like Flutter Hulk. I really don't like how they've been doing this general corruption of Fluttershy in Season 4. I mean, I really liked her as a character, except for the fact that she was really shy. But here, they kind of start turning her into a monster. I mean, that's not really a depiction of Fluttershy that I'd like to see. If anything, they should have done that with a character like Rainbow Dash, because Rainbow Dash has the potential to be a monster. Unlike Fluttershy, where it was forced in that episode with the Minotaur. But here, it was also forced, and the whole episode doesn't seem natural, and I really don't like the way it flows. I really don't like anything about this episode, once again, except Applejack and the visual animation. I think that was really great. And the music, that was amazing. It just conveyed feelings in such a good way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This is the Science Pony, and I'll see you guys later.